And also, if you tell me that you're saturating Meta, TikTok, Google, and Apple ads, it means that you should be spending at least 5 million a month, at least.
How do these traditional MMPs fit into your current mobile marketing stack?
Depends on the use case. So again, for example, if you want to run a plugin, you're fucked. You need to pay them to run a plugin. Then if you want to run web app on Google, then you need another reason why maybe you will need an MP. It's if you are spending money on TikTok ads and you have your application on Flutter or React Native, then you will need an MMP. And the main reason behind it is because TikTok does not support an SDK for these languages for the moment.
My name is Jacob Rushfin, CEO and founder of Botsy. Botsy is AI-powered dynamic pricing for your subscription app. Today, on the Price Power podcast, we're talking with Lucas Moscon. I was pretty excited to talk to Lucas because he is likely one of the most knowledgeable people in the world on how mobile attribution actually works under the hood. He was a senior acquisition manager at Monkey Taps. He's been an advisor to large companies like Life360 and is now the founder of AppStack, a new type of mobile analytics and measurement platform. Lucas has some spicy takes for you on Apple, traditional MMPs, and more. If you want to truly understand how mobile measurement works, this episode is for you. Hey, Lucas, happy to have you here and excited to chat. You are a mobile attribution wizard, and so I thought I'd start with asking, just to kick it off, how has mobile attribution changed since ATT implementation, iOS 14.5, and what are most marketers still getting wrong about the new reality of the mobile attribution world?
Well, thanks for having me here, Jacob. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. So that's a really interesting and good question for multiple reasons. The best answer is that it's like it depends, but the most accurate one, it's I think it forces marketers to see the full marketing picture or try to look uh, at UA or performance or marketing as one element of the full picture when it comes to the business that they're operating in. I think it also pushed people to think in terms of aggregated data and thinks of way to how they can match a source to a user within the application with onboarding questions and so on. I also believe that it forces companies to test new ways of acquiring users, like web to app to web, with etc. They also been forced in the first years after ATT was implemented to focus on retention, since remarketing was hard to do. I think it also removed and took the control of the attribution pipeline from the traditional / legacy attribution players like the MMPs. I think a lot of things happened. I think that although the intentions from Apple were the good ones, I don't believe it was executed in the right way. I think the technology makes a shit ton of sense, to be honest. But recently I made a LinkedIn post sharing with the community the feedback that I gave to the Apple team that it's responsible to build infrastructure. Uh, and people were saying, I wish all of the things you're mentioning are true. But the thing is that, as also you can see today, people are like moving away from deterministic attribution coming from Apple and trying to rely mostly on the IP. And we can dive into this during this call, but I can share like a bunch of learnings that I'm having when it comes to fingerprinting users now that I'm doing this in AppStack uh, with the deep linking infrastructure. So I'm learning a lot when it comes to that and how it actually works. So yeah, I think those are the main changes.
Do you think generally it seems like it's positive for the overall app ecosystem where there maybe was too much confidence in your attribution previously that was unfounded, where you thought that you knew exactly came from, or kind of the performance of this channel, where maybe now kind of the veil has been uncovered of maybe your attribution wasn't so accurate before, and now that actually aggregated is better, or maybe not. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think it's better or worse. I think it's like it just forces you to see all the layers. It forces you to see the blended, the deterministic, the probabilistic. Like again, it's all about. I think that, for example, when I talk with apps and they're like, "Oh, I want to see if my campaign is on iOS have a return on ad spend of 100% on day 7," or they even want to know if the ad has a ROAS day 7 of 100%. I tell them like, dude, that's not how it works today. I wish that's the case. And basically what I try to help them is to build, to try to abstract their business from ROAS metrics and focus on ROI, which ensures like more realistic numbers. So for example, I've been advising a really big health and fitness application, and basically their main source of truth and where they make most of their decisions, it's an ROI chart where they just basically fetch ad spend from the ad networks, revenue coming from the store consoles or their subscription platform. And also they divide that by install date. So they know, okay, this cohort of users, it's profitable at the ad network level or even at the company level on day 60. So by focusing on that level of aggregation, it's super safe for them to double spend or double down on their current strategy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where don't get too caught up in like every single ad set or even every single channel. As long as you're spending profitably, and your business is growing and you're making money at a whole, like that should be successful, right? Like that's what how you should measure yourself.
Also, I also believe that, for example, if you have the mindset to extend the time in which you get the money back, I think that's also an interesting growth lever, because most people will be optimizing towards the other way, and that most of them will realize that it's almost impossible. And it's when you want to scale, the return ad spend gets even harder. The more ad spend, the the lowest is the ROAS. So for companies that are really taking the risk and willing to go a little bit further and say, okay, I'm getting my money back on day 60. What happens if I push these to 180 days? They will be outspending their competitors, and they will be, by doing this, they will be able to spend more money and grow more. Still, you need to have cash. The cash flow is important to do this strategy. But I also believe that this approach or this mindset should go beyond, instead of decreasing, increase the target for your return ad spend.
Do you think that increases risks for advertisers, where it takes longer for you to find out if something is profitable? What if something changes in your product, changes in your conversion? Does it can you project that early on, or is that an increased risk because it takes 90 days or 120 days to find out?
I think that it will depend on the confidence level that you have on your proxies for the early days. So if you historically you see that on day 7, if you have a ROAS below 0.5, it means that you will never get your money back, and that has been the case for the past 2 years. Then maybe that's a strong proxy that this cohort is not going to perform as expected. But I agree with you. It's of course it's more risky, but because it's more risky, there's a reward on the other side. Uh,
Yep.
it's a trade-off between what you want to prioritize. But again, I also believe that there's a way to get really strong proxies.
What metrics do you like as proxies, or these kind of custom formulas?
I saw a company putting a ROI, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So most of the correlations they were doing was that even though, so it was like a waterfall effect. So let's say if until day 3 they were not hitting this benchmark, then the level of confidence was going down. If on day 4, 5, 6 this was still the case, they reduce it again. If on dates 7, 8, 9, 10 was still going down, they know it's not going to happen. So they were like adding layers of securities for this cohort, and they were able to get this on day 10 instead of waiting for day 180, which was the target. But that's something that I saw recently, and I thought was quite smart to do.
Yeah. I've in the past used like, cancellation rates after a trial conversion. Okay, let's look at the cancellation rates in the first 15 days. This is usually pretty predictive of renewals and conversions, for subscription apps specifically. And that can be pretty valuable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more proxies, the better.
Yeah, got it. So maybe we take a step back in terms of the world of attribution. And I think myself included, a lot of people don't really just understand how mobile attribution providers work kind of under the hood. Can you explain like how tracking works from ad click or tap to someone downloading the app and the ad platform actually attributing that install to a specific ad?
Okay, so first we need to separate. There are two type of ways of measuring stuff. The first one is we have the self-attributed networks, and then we have the non-self-attributed networks. And also within the self-attributed networks like Meta, Google, and so on, you can run web to app acquisition. Okay, so focusing on this first segment, which is the self-attributed networks, the way it works, I'm going to talk after ATT. Okay, basically, yeah, I'm not going back to the golden era, let's say. So basically, the way it works is, let's say you have a mobile app and you want to run meta ads. The way it's going to work, there's two ways to send back events to Meta. It could be through the Conversions API or through the Facebook SDK. It's up to you which one you want to send. I also created like a document recently that explains people how to send in-app events to Meta, depending on the needs and the type of event that they want to trigger back. And once you send these to Meta, okay, what it's going to happen is that Meta is going to, depending on the IDFA and AEM, okay, so there's like the IDFA cohort, AEM using IP and other signals or parameters that Meta gets from the user. And the third one is the SKAN network API. So the IDFA, of course, is the cohort that consents with the ATT. AEM is the probabilistic layer, and SKAN network is a deterministic layer. So in this case, you can see everything. Okay, so for example, let's say you run a campaign. Apple will do its thing with SKAN network. I'm not going to go into the details. I can share like an extensive guide that I created for this. It's published on the Revenue Cats article. And the second one, it's AEM, which basically it's going to fingerprint the user, and there's a high chance it's going to over-report against SKAN network. Still, a lot of people complain that it's under-reporting. And then you have the IDFA cohorted users, which basically you have the idea and you can match these to the sort like in the good old days. Then it comes, for example, the case where you have a web to app. Okay, I can tell you this because at AppTech, we build the web to app infrastructure, and we are working right now on publishing how actually it works in the backend, so everyone can build something like this, which is pretty cool, I guess. So we're going to show like the behind the scenes of how the backend and the repositories actually correlate with each other, and how you can fingerprint the user and then send this postback back through the conversion API to Meta. So basically, the way it works on the web to app infrastructure is that the user clicks on the app, okay? And then that click sends a request to let's call this a links API. I don't know how to call it. And then this link API is going to register the user information, like the fingerprinting ID, IP, country, and so on. Then the user is redirected to the App Store. The user installs the app, opens the app, and then what you need to do in this case is to have an SDK. Okay. Then what's going to happen is that an SDK it's going to generate a user ID. It could be any SDK. You can build it on your own. And then this SDK is going to send a request to the links API. And basically, it's going to match the AppStack ID to the right parameters from the previous steps. And then you will be sending this with the install ID through the conversions API in Meta. Again, I will be sharing all of this. We can attach this link to the webinar or podcast, and so everyone knows how to deal it by their own means internally, which is going to be pretty cool. Which is not that hard, to be honest. So you're gonna have your own infrastructure running, and then you have this non-self attribute networks like AppLovin, LiftUp, Moloko, which basically force you to pay for the middleman, which in this case the middleman is the MMP, to do the attribution for you. Let's say. Still, I'm not a big fan of this work when it comes to DSP and companies that force you to add a middleman in the middle. By the way, it's just like that's the definition. I'm not that. I'm kind of skeptical about how they do stuff because I have friends working there and the things they tell me is not that nice to hear. They can fake fraud. They can do whatever they want. And I know cases where they were pushing fraud to the MMPs and the MMPs were not able to detect that, even for companies that were paying for the ad fraud solution. So I will recommend people to stay away from these type of networks. And also, if you tell me that you're saturating Meta, TikTok, Google, and Apple ads, it means that you should be spending at least 5 million a month. At least.
And so
that's my way of saying.
For most people, you never need to go to ad networks. You never, for most apps, there's, it just, the percentage of traffic that you'll get from them comparatively is not necessary.
Maybe if you're in the gaming space, we work mostly with subscription apps. Maybe it's worth trying AppLovin or Unity. I don't know. But again, for most apps out there, like just stay away as much as you can. Try to install. Also, it's in terms of safety, like the transparency layer they have, they're not that good.
Yeah. So, one, thank you for breaking that all down. It's super helpful. And clearly it illustrates that things are still quite complex and probably more complex now because you have multiple attribution sources you need to track. You can't just rely on your MMP. You have data coming from multiple sources, even more so if you have, web to app acquisition funnels. So I think really you're probably taking an accurate view of new users coming into your app, where they're coming from, performance, ROAS. Like, you need multiple sources. You need multiple measurement sources. What do you think? I think you talked about it a little bit. What do you think the measurement stack realistically looks like today for top performance marketers, where it's kind of an aggregation of multiple sources, right?
I think that first people need to be pragmatic when it comes to select and choose the right numbers they want to see to make decisions. And when I mean that they need to be, what I mean by this is that you need to be realistic, that the more granular you go, the less accurate it will become. Okay? I'm talking on iOS. I'm not Android is just like do whatever you want. All the numbers will be there. But I will assume that this goes mainly for iOS. And so that's something you should know. And what I always recommend to people is, depending on the metric that you want to see or attribute or measure, you need to have your source of truth layer. So for example, if you want to see the total revenue, it's up to you to choose the store console or maybe a subscription platform. It's up to you, but you need to choose one. Of course, you're not going to use the Facebook SDK to measure total revenue, because it's risky. And also you have other sources that you will trust more. I mean, at the end of the day, Apple is the one paying the bill. So if you don't see the proceeds, it's something wrong on your side. Then when it comes to, for example, installations, again, try to see the full marketing picture. Try to see installations coming from AdConnect. Try to see installations coming from Meta. Try installations coming from SKAN Network. Try installations coming from your product analytics SDK. Try to have multiple sources, and then you can stack one against each other. For example, let's say you want to see, I don't know, in-app events, like start trial. For example, when it comes to the start trial, depending if you want to see the total attributed or non-attributed, you will have different sources. I can give you an example. If you want to see let's say attributed trial, you can fetch these from the ad networks or Apple API, which in this case is the ad network. If you want to see the totals, maybe you can use the subscription platform, or you can use App Store Connect. You know, like again, it's all about choosing the right sources that you trust and stacking them up against other sources, so you can see the full picture in a really easy way and manner.
Got it. So it's more different metrics. You want to rely on different sources of data, and even for single metrics, probably having a few and going, well, this is the high end, this is the low end. It's probably somewhere in the middle, and no longer saying it's this exact number, but going, this is a range. We're confident in this range, and it's we're even more confident in kind of this middle ground maybe.
Try to triangulate
Does that sound
the
right?
ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Got it. And so like, let's just like maybe we pick one example to kind of dig into. Like, let's say return on ad spend. What does your like measurement stack look like, or what kind of sources do you rely on for that, or for let's say for subscription apps?
Okay, that's a risky one.
Okay.
So when it comes to return on ad spend, there are two main ways of doing this. The first one is you rely on the ad network, okay, which is, hey, this is what we believe this campaign generated, and then it's how granular you want the deterministic attribution to be, depending on the conversion value mapping. So if you have a wide conversion value mapping range, then you will go for the medium average on the mapping, and then that maybe it's going to inflate the numbers, or maybe it will happen the opposite. So when it comes to ROAS, keep in mind that on iOS, it's risky to rely on that metric. It's risky. It's, I think if you ask me, it's the metric with less level of confidence that I have. That's why I try to move away from ROAS as much as I can.
What do you try to substitute with?
ROI, total revenue. Like, look at the blended. Like, at the end
Got
of
it.
the day, if I'm running a business, of course I want to know, like, on Android, like, if this ad is the one generating the revenue. Of course, I'm not stupid, but at the end of the day, if you need to run a business, you just want to ensure that more money is coming in than what's going out, and the ROAS is not going to give you that.
Got it. And so it's better to look at the whole of is the money we're spending on advertising making us more money, and then for actually optimizing our ads or optimizing channels, we look at CTRs or kind of more traditional performance and go, look, we know if we get a better click-through rate and we generally see better performance, that we're going to see better ROI and better return on ad spend, but we can't be confident in the exact numbers. Is that right?
I mean, you can also use installs, cost per in-app
Yeah.
event. Like, you can use those metrics as proxy, like hard proxies. But again, you will not have the revenue attached to it. I mean,
Got
you
it.
will do it on the probabilistic and the deterministic, but it's like, it could be too broad.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that just because there's the tracking isn't right, or it's incomplete, and there's cannibalization of other channels? There's some organic halo where it's not actually capturing all the impact, or it's over attributing. Yeah. Why do you think that?
Just because there's no IDFA.
Yeah. It's just we only have 15-20% of users with the IDFA that we can actually track, and it's all just estimated.
Yeah, because if the
Yeah.
IDFA was there, then everything, it's like Android. Again, like, it's just about that ID.
Yep, that makes sense. Then that's like why everything is probabilistic now, where it's just extrapolated, based off that data we know. And then there's some fingerprinting, right? Is like, what is probabilistic for most channels? Like, is that actually is fingerprinting? What does that actually mean when it's like probabilistic measurement?
Just scrapping the IP for the use from the user.
Yeah, and
That's
hoping
it.
you get some percentage of matching. And
Actually, I can give you some interesting insights. So at AppTech, we did a test internally, and I asked the team to see what was the accuracy rate when it comes to this fingerprinting matching. What was the accuracy rate without the IP? So we simulated some scenarios where we didn't have, of course, we did have the IP from the user, and we compared both experiments. The IP was the reason behind plus 90% of the matches.
so everything everybody says, oh, we have these algorithms, we're doing this complex matching, it's just IP address.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Then of course
Okay.
you can use OS version or battery life, whatever. But IPs. That's why I'm trying to push Apple to block the IP from the device. Like I really believe they should be doing that through private relay or whatever. But they told me they will. I don't know if I should be saying this, but I don't care. They told me that it's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah, that's super interesting. What was kind of what would be the benefit to advertisers of blocking the IP?
It's not about the advertiser; it's about the user.
Yeah, or it's
It's about
better
the user, the client.
privacy. If Apple's committed to
Yeah.
actually, privacy, then this is the right move.
Imagine putting years and years of dedication into a technology that you push to the industry and no one uses.
Yeah.
That's what happened to Apple. Instead,
Yeah.
they allow everyone to fingerprint their user and nothing is happening. I'm just describing a
It
fact.
is pretty
I don't
interesting,
know.
huh?
Maybe we agree or we don't, but the truth is that they just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it, well, at the end of the day, like the whole privacy message was marketing, right? It was for their iPhones and it was to hurt Facebook. It was to try to hurt their competitors at that time. And, it was a move and it was done. And now the world is how it is. And we move on and they have big other priorities, it seems like.
Yeah. And also, initially, I would say to you, maybe that's not the case because I believe that the technology had like an honest and moral goal. But then when you look at what they did with their own advertising platform, which is Apple Ads, and you see that the technology they develop doesn't apply to them, it's like, are you sure you are trying to to do good for the wall with this or not? And then what happened was that I don't know if it was the French on the or the German authorities or government fined Google with 200 million or 150 million dollar fine. Um, and the same day when this was public, they say, "Oh, today we're announcing that Apple Ads is adopting SKAN network API." But then when
Yeah.
you dig into what they did, you realize that the structure and architecture of this implementation on Apple's side, it just sucks. It's useless. And the reason for that is because it doesn't allow the users to do a conversion value mapping first, and second, match the raw postback against the right campaign ID. And it's like, yeah, I'm just pushing this to avoid the fine. So everyone thinks that we're compliant, but the truth is that it just sucks. And also, I've been talking with the Apple ads team, like the customer, like the account manager from Apple, that that yeah, I think they work on the Apple Ads division. And they were telling me, Lucas, we have no way, we didn't know that it even was adopted. Like even Apple employees have no idea what's going on in terms of the adoption of the privacy API. and they are not even recommending this to their client because it's not in their interest. So how would you tell me that you believe that this is the best for the other companies except for you? Why? Why would I trust you?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Where there's there's the actual probably the people that built the solution had good intentions for kind of the future and how they could evolve it and improve privacy, but then there's always kind of the strategic corporate level about how do we actually what's in the best interest of Apple as a company and all that. So yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I know the guys that are behind this project in Cupertino, and they have no fucking clue to be like that's the truth. I'm
Okay.
not going to lie. They have no clue. Like actually they were asking me. So for example, I think a few months ago I made a contact that I have in Meta reach out to me announcing telling me that basically they were adopting the latest version of the SKAN network API. And I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I will share the news to everyone. And I made a LinkedIn post about it. And after I published this post, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 Apple employees send me a message or an email saying, hey, why do you think this is happening? We didn't know this was going on. Like, even Apple has no fucking clue that Meta is adopting their own technology. I don't know what's going on their side. So they're not only disconnected from the developer itself and the advertiser, but also from the ad network side. So they're like just doing what they believe they should do and asking, I don't know what they were even asking to do this, but I don't believe they know what they're doing. And also, I can guarantee you and everyone that is listening to this podcast that Apple has no fucking clue on how to push massive adoption from the ad or the ad attribution kit API. They have no fucking idea. Like they're
Yeah.
desperately trying to find a way to make it happen, and they're like, oh, I don't know.
And now all the advertisers are just stuck with this convoluted mess, and you go, okay, well, I guess we just have to deal with it and figure out how to make the best of it.
You have no other option,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
not spend
Yeah.
money on iOS.
Yeah, which is not an option usually. Yeah, yeah. It's I know these things at kind of a surface level, but like it's so interesting to hear your kind of view of really in the trenches and talking to these people. It's a mess, huh? Yeah.
I think
So
it's fun. I don't know.
yeah. Well, that's why you're building a company around it. So it better
Yeah.
be fun. Um, yeah. It's so interesting. I'm yeah, a lot of questions. Yeah, we'll have to do. I think we'll have to do some follow up episodes. There's many more things we could dive into there, but so coming back to kind of MMPs, if this is the world today, and how you're explaining things, like there's much less value in the traditional MMPs than there used to be, right? Like how do these traditional MMPs fit into your current mobile marketing stack, and like do you still need that SDK in your app to track conversions? How does that work?
Depends on the use case. So again, for example, if you want to run a plugin, you're fucked. You need to pay them to run a plugin. Um, just the fun fact, recently I had a chat with I think it was the general manager from the European division. I don't remember the exact position that he had, but I was like, hey, dude, I have $10 million to spend every single day on App 11, 10 million a day. And he was like, oh, sure, let's do a joint venture, let's do a deal, whatever. And I was like, you know what, but sorry, I don't have an MMP. And he was like, oh, no, then we cannot do it. So basically, it was just to show that they force you to pay the middleman. So if you want to run these DSPs, then you need an MMP. Another thing is if you want to run web to app on Google, I'm just using like naming use cases for people
Yeah.
to see if it's a good fit or not. Then if you want to run web to app on Google, then you need, I mean, it depends. You still, my recommendation is maybe you will need them because in order to run web to app on Google, you will need a certified link infrastructure by Google. Still, you can get that pretty easily. I mean, you still need to go through a process. It's a pain in the ass, to be honest, but you can do it. So if you want to run web app and Google, maybe the MMP makes sense. If you need to pitch to your boss that you are buying an ad for a solution, again, maybe you need an MMP. If you have like more server to server integrations going on, and you have like but if you're a corporate and you need this data clean room solution and so on, maybe it's a good fit. What else? I don't think there are other heavy cases where it's like, hey, if I cannot get this if it's not with an MMP. Like, I think that's it mainly. Also, one thing you should know, if you are working with iOS and you are running, let's say, TikTok, Meta, and Google, if you don't work with with a traditional MMP, you will be forced to maintain uh like the same mapping schema on all the ad networks at the same time. So it could be a pain in the ass to make sure everything matches. Uh, Also, another thing could be. Sorry, I'm giving a lot of reasons,
No, this is
but
great. This is
I'm
this is
just.
this is perfect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Keep going. Keep
Okay.
going. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, please.
Another reason why maybe you will need an MP, it's if you are spending money on TikTok ads and you have your application on Flutter or React Native, then you will need an MMP. And the main reason behind it is because TikTok does not support an SDK for these languages for the moment. Still, for the moment, because we recently find a way to we adapt that we build a bridge so that we allow people that wanted to test TikTok and use the upside bridge so that they can run TikTok ads without paying thousands of dollars to the middleman, which in this case is the MMP. So this is going to be live pretty soon on our side, so we can unlock TikTok for a bunch of apps that before that they couldn't run on TikTok ads. Um, then when it comes to web to app, you can basically do your own infrastructure with no legal problems on Meta and TikTok. Then when it comes to Apple ads, if you want to see in-app events and revenue, it's not that you need an MMP. You can also use subscription platforms too, like I don't know, Botsy maybe or your competitors. Uh, but you're not stick only with the MMPs. You can use other tools. Still, you will need an SDK. You will need an SDK for this. Um, I'm thinking of any other situation. Uh, yeah, I don't think so. I think, well, I listed a bunch of them. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
missing some.
No, it's super interesting to hear. So it sounds like MMPs are more kind of this infrastructure layer that kind of maps conversion values to different networks. So it can simplify a lot of the complexity with if you're running on multiple channels, so you don't have to maintain all this yourself. And then there's still some channels, well, ad network specifically, you don't have a choice. But then there's still some channels that like TikTok, you're saying for certain frameworks, for certain SDKs, you might still need that. And so probably there's, and yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe there's evolutions here for advertisers. When you start off, a lot of people start with Meta, right? In that case, you can maybe rely on AEM for Facebook, for Meta, and you don't need kind of a full MMP. But then maybe as you evolve, it can still help simplify things or make things easier on you in some cases, but it's not like it's not kind of required anymore.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like the MMP game, it's also the fact that you can just use one SDK instead of updating and maintaining 3 or 4 of them at the same time. Still, I don't have good memory for this, but I never heard a case where no one was complaining about, hey, I don't find this event in the MMP. I don't know why this is not matching with Google. Like, still discrepancies happen, and still people complain. So let's say the myth of having one SDK will fix your problems, based on my experience, is not true at all.
Yeah, yeah, it's a myth.
That's my take.
yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong,
And
but
it's just kind of like, okay, you're gonna have one set of problems using an MMP. Maybe you have less visibility into kind of what's actually happening in the middle. If you do it yourself or use, Facebook SDK, TikTok SDK, maybe there's a little more setup you have to do, but maybe you have a little more visibility into what's going on, where you can kind of control things more granular. But it's a different set of problems. There's no perfect solution. It's kind of just what problems you want to tackle, and maybe AppStack can solve some of these for you.
yeah, I wish.
Yeah,
I wish that's
some
the
of
case.
them.
Some of them, but
Okay,
yeah, like that's my honest take. To be honest, I believe that the
yeah,
MP makes sense in a bunch of cases, but for most situations, for most applications, they don't. So, for example, I can share this experience with. It was advising a company. This was an app that was doing. I don't know if it was doing like 20 million a month. It was a big app. And I remember like asking access to the MMP, and they were like, "Sorry, what? The MMP? Do you have an MMP? I haven't. I don't know what is an MMP." And I was like, "Maybe Upslayer, Adjust, Singular Branch. Oh yeah, Upslayer. We know Upslayer. We have Upslayer. Can you give me access to it?" And when I entered the MMP, the last login was 6 months ago. And when I checked the invoice, like the billing, how much money they were paying for this, it was 350K a year. And I was like asking, hey, why? Like, why are you paying for this? Like, explain that to me. And they were like, the XVP recommended this, and you just stick with us, I guess. But are you using it? And they were like, no, but we need to have an MMP. For what? And they were like, not even capable of listing one thing. And sometimes it's like, I think because they have been going around for 13 years, which is a lot more than a decade, I think that they did, and I will give the credit to the MMPs because of this, they pushed a mindset in the industry where you cannot run your app without them, even though it's not true at all in a bunch of cases, which from a business point of view, not that moral to say maybe, but they need to run a business, I guess. And if people are voluntarily willing to pay, seems like a good deal. So yeah, I've been encountering a lot of these cases where companies are just lagging these SDKs in their code base because someone years ago told them that it's the best or the only way to do it. Like when you tell them that you can run meta apps without an MMP, they're like, "How? Is this like a new technology or like?" And they were like, "Shut," So I think that most people working in the field, they don't care. Maybe they just want to get their quarterly bonus and go play some football or whatever, live their personal life. But most of them, they just have no fucking clue what's going on.
yeah, it's so interesting. I think it's good to hear like your examples of specifically when you do need it, because I think that helps paint the picture of like, okay, these are use cases that are going to make sense. But if you think about all the use cases you said, they're very specific use cases where probably most people they just don't apply to. Yeah.
I'll give you another use case. Another
yeah.
really good use case is you have no idea about the app industry.
Right. Well, that's probably most people, right? I think most there's so many new people entering the app world today that don't understand how everything works on the back end, haven't been working in mobile apps for a while, and you read the marketing messages, you see, okay, well, I guess this is just what I need to get started, and it probably simplifies things for you some cases, but if once you grow, once you start to understand, or once you grow, you should start to understand things better. It's not quite as necessary. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. I think it should be, hopefully it's informative to a lot of people to actually understand how things are actually working on the back end in terms of mobile attribution. This might be a more complicated question, and you can let me know, but I think that kind of segueing from not using MMPs, how do we actually design like our conversion values with SKAN to actually, help our campaign performance rather than just provide reporting, rather than just like kind of the bare minimum. This is something, I understand at a high level that, we're sending these conversion values, but like I don't understand it very well. I don't think most people understand it very well. Do you have any guidance? And I know you had you said you had a kind of a whole kind of document that can explain things better. We can link that in the show notes too. But I guess where do people get started in kind of actually using SKAN effectively and using conversion values effectively to improve performance rather than just the basic?
Okay, I will try to put this in a really easy way.
Okay.
A conversion value, okay, the meaning of a conversion value is what is the in-app event that matters the most to you, and you want to pass this back to the ad network as a signal to optimize the campaign. Therefore, you can only use one in-app event to optimize your campaign. You cannot use two. Well, actually, in Google Ads, you can use but let's say with Meta, you can only use one. So by putting this into this level of abstraction, the best way and the most reliable strategy when it comes to conversion value mapping is to simplify it as much as you possibly can. Don't go to the 63-bit. That's my recommendation. Just keep 63 the main conversion event and the one you're optimizing for. And second, so for example, let's say you are a subscription app, and let's say 80% of the revenue or our signals are coming from subscription, direct subscriptions or purchases. And the second one, the remaining 20% is coming from Star Trial. What I will do in this case is I will set the 63 to subscription or purchase, the 62 to Star Trial. That's it. Done. Maybe if you want to add an intermediate layer on the client side, for example, it'd be a paywall view event or like a paywall. You can trigger the paywall view when someone click on the continue button and it lands on the next page. That could be a strong proxy if there's no trial either purchase, but still the ad network gets the signal. But that's it. Like you don't need that much. And also when it comes to the course values, try to keep the low as a session event. You want to ensure that the course conversion value is always going to be triggered by a client side event, which in this case is going to be the session, which is like an app open. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not first app open. It will be first app open if it's on the first window, but if it's on the second and third, it will be just an app open. So just keep it simple. Don't look for tricks. Don't overcomplicate your stack. It's already complex. Don't try to mess it up. So I don't know if you or the audience will be expecting like a complex trick or secret conversion value mapping. Just ignore all that shit. Don't focus on complex stuff. Just focus on what matters to you and the business.
That's great. Yeah, I think in almost everything in life, simple is usually better. And so I think that's super helpful. I think people really appreciate that. They can just push out all the noise of kind of all the different setups and go simple for performance there. That's super
Also,
helpful.
it reduces the noise.
Is there does it matter if my trial is longer or not? Is there a kind of a speed or a timing element where I need that conversion value faster if like a subscription conversion doesn't come till later?
Even a trial converted?
Yeah, trial converted, yeah.
Well, it depends. So because of the composition and the structure of the SKAN network framework / API, you need the client or the user, to open the app to trigger an update of the conversion value. So there's this correlation between user retention and the amount of postbacks that you will get on window 2 and 3. So I will give you an example. Let's say that your retention rate on day 10 is 100%. I know this doesn't exist, okay? But let's say that it's 100%. Yeah. You will get 100% of the conversion value update, and therefore you will see 100% of the trial converted. Okay? But since maybe your retention rate on day 10 is 15%, maybe a lot of users converted into a trial because they forgot, but you won't be measuring them with the FPL network API. Okay. So you should keep that in mind, that these trial converted events depend on user retention. And then you can extrapolate the retention rate that you know for this date, assuming this is happening on the conversion value window. And then you say, okay, if let's say I have a retention rate of 10%, and I know that only 10 users converted from start trial to one user converted from trial to trial converted, then I know that maybe 10 people uh, actually converted.
Right.
But that's a amount you do in house. It's not coming through the reporting APIs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's super interesting. That makes a lot of sense. And that kind of illustrates what we were talking about before, that you need these multiple sources. You understand the nuances and differences in each one, and you use them appropriately where you know this is off for these reasons, this is off for these reasons, and you kind of assemble this aggregate picture of kind of performance. Yeah, that's super helpful. I think people will appreciate that kind of guidance there. So I think we can end on that. I think that kind of wraps things up well and kind of ties back to what we were talking about originally. Do you want to? I know you told a little bit about AppStack throughout, but do you want to give a quick pitch for AppStack and why, when, or where it might fit into a marketer's tech stack today, and where it kind of provides value, and kind of what your vision is?
Yeah. So basically, AppSec is an app marketing analytics tool. So we help to centralize all the multiple data sources and show the full marketing picture so that you can see all the data points and all the touch points and all the layers, probabilistic, totals, and you can create really great dashboard in a matter of minutes. Okay. No SDK is needed to start with on iOS. And it's pretty fast to connect. So it's easy to use, fast to connect, and shows reliable data working using the sources that you already work with. And we can also build a foundational model that basically helps us to audit the ad network and tell you, for example, if Meta is over or under reporting by X%, where the budget is generating the most revenue, and so on. So it's a simple tool for a lot of marketers and app studio companies that are working with it today to basically replace their legacy solution, have like a more modern stack, an easy way of working with numbers. And also it's pretty cool because with most of the big clients that we work with, we work really closely and we are able to give them like a really high quality support that they were not able to get in any other place. So basically the way it is, it's a SaaS company, but we also equip the top consultants with the best attribution solution that they really know for end to end. So there's nothing that we cannot answer and fix by really fast. It's like let's say this AppSec gives the clients consultant. It's like a consultant with asteroids that no other consultant in the world will have because we have access to the backend. We build infrastructure. And that's something that most consultants in the world will lack, but we do. And we only work with top people advising the best clients. So it's like, let's say, it's a really cool software, a really great product that works with really enterprise accounts. And we go deeper by providing the best consulting on top of that. So it's not like we don't run the company with sales guys that they're just sending you emails saying, hey, you're reaching the billing cycle, you want to renew, or we don't work with executives that have no idea what an app is or what how attribution actually works. That's not how we treat the relationship with the apps we work with. And that's also something our clients value a lot, that we go deeper and that we provide, like, sometimes like we reach out to them saying, hey, you're fucking things up here. And because of that, we save them thousands of dollars. So it's a different approach and a different type of product, which is starting to work pretty fast in a really good way, which I'm really proud of. And also, yeah, we build around them for them. So it's built by developers for developers.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch what you've built, and I'm really excited to see kind of the future of AppStack. And So yeah, go check it out. If you're having issues with your mobile measurement today, you can probably get some help, and you'll at the least you'll be able to talk to Lucas maybe and get some of his knowledge. So I think that's a win on its own. Cool. Anything else you'd like to plug or share here today? We'll include links in the show notes to all the different documents you mentioned.
For sure. Yeah, I really encourage everyone to give a try to Botsy.
Thank you. Yeah, and we'll be excited to see if we can kind of have some integration with AppStack in the future. And yeah, go follow Lucas on LinkedIn as well. He's always sharing gems and insights there. You can definitely learn a lot. So cool. Well, thank you for joining, Lucas. This was awesome. I certainly learned a lot. I'm sure everyone listening will as well. Yeah, thank you again for joining.
And for having me. Wish you the best.
Thanks. All right. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Please go to pricepowerpodcast.com to see all the episodes. Go to Spotify and YouTube and give us a subscribe and follow so you don't miss any episodes. All right, talk to you next time.